In the US, 6 out of every 10 adults have at least one chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have 2 or more. The US has the highest age-standardized cancer incident rate among 204 countries in the world, nearly double the next highest rate. Asthma and autoimmune diseases are far more common in the US than in any other part of the world. Prior to COVID, American life expectancy averaged 7.8 years. That's about 4 years shorter than comparable countries. Autism now affects 1 in every 36 kids, a more than 4-fold increase over past decades. 18% of teens suffer from fatty liver disease. Nearly 38% are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and more than 40% are overweight or obese. These conditions were virtually unheard of when my uncle was president, 1960 to 1963, when I was a 10-year-old boy. The sperm counts and testosterone are down about 50% in American boys, and our girls are reaching puberty 6 years earlier than historical generations. Our only solution to these issues seems to be more and more pharmaceutical interventions that don't seem to be alleviating the problem, and in many cases appear to be worsening it. Over-medication, particularly in children, is a growing issue. More than 3.4 million American children are currently taking medication for ADD and ADHD, and yet the numbers continue to rise. President Trump has asked me to reverse the epidemic of chronic disease. The way to do that is to bring HHS to its full potential as the steward of the American healthcare system. The main reason is quite simply that Americans are very, very sick. We are, in fact, the sickest nation on earth with the highest chronic disease burden in the world or in the history of the world. During COVID, we had in this country 16% of the global COVID deaths. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. So something we were doing was utterly wrong. And the CDC says that's because we're the sickest people in the world. They say that the average American who died from COVID had 3.8 chronic diseases. So were they dying from COVID or were they dying from chronic disease? According to some estimates, 90% of healthcare spending today goes toward managing chronic disease. When my uncle was president, it was 0. We didn't even have drugs for chronic disease then. And now it's become a burden that's threatening to sink our country. So my main mission at HHS, in which I hope that you will all join me, is to reverse the chronic disease epidemic in America. How are we going to do that? It isn't by replacing one paradigm with another one by force. I'm not going to come in here and impose my belief over any of yours. Instead, we're going to work together to launch a new era of radical transparency. Only through radical transparency can we provide Americans with genuine informed consent, which is the bedrock and the foundation stone of democracy. Another reason why our agencies have lost public trust is that they become too politicized. Well, our health should not be a political issue. As I said to President Trump the other day, there's no such thing as Democratic children or Republican children. These are all of our children, and all of us want to keep them healthy. It should be an issue of science and an issue of basic human compassion. Science gets politicized when power and profit are involved, and power and profit are blind to compassion. Reducing the influence of money, therefore, goes hand in hand with depoliticizing HHS.